What's up, everyone? Matt here. Welcome back to another mini episode of Down Once More. Just me today. We're going to do a couple different things. And when I say different things, I mean things that we normally do on these mini episodes. I'm going to do a couple mini reviews of musical themed TV shows this week, and a few other random things thrown in there. The big thing was this week we had our finale of The Last of Us. So I'm recording this before that is aired, but as soon as that episode aired, per usual, recording recap, it is on the YouTube page. So those reviews of The Last of Us and kind of my initial gut reaction thoughts after the episode airs are YouTube exclusives. So head over there if you're caught up on the show and want to hear some of my thoughts. I will be eventually doing a full season 1 recap and some thoughts on things that I want to see going into season 2, things pulling from the game, which I am currently replaying the second game right now. So, before I get into the mini reviews this week, I just have a correction. In the March 1st mini episode, I mentioned Andrew Lloyd Webber's new play that was premiering on Broadway, Bad Cinderella, and that's actually not entirely true. That show actually premiered on the West End in London, just as Cinderella in 2021. So it was coming out after COVID, and there's some controversy about how Andrew Lloyd Webber handled the West End production shutting down and now shifting to the Broadway thing, that I'm not fully versed on the details. There's some interesting recaps on YouTube if you're interested in checking those out. But the West End production actually featured Carrie Hope Fletcher, who I'm familiar with from her work on Heathers the Musical, which I've mentioned a few times on here, but she starred as Veronica, the main character on the West End production of that and on the West End Broadway cast recording album, which is fantastic. Highly encourage everyone to check out. Or if you're just going to check out a song or two there and you don't care about the whole show, check out Carrie Hope Fletcher singing I Say No from that show. It was a new song that was added for the West End production actually, and has now been incorporated into it as it's gone on. And it is a fantastic song. It didn't make my musical playlist draft that we did on last week's episode, but it was very close. It was in the honorable mentions category, which we did not cover due to Rayleigh accusing me of finding a way to throw in all my picks on there, which she wasn't wrong. So just correction there. And actually, the West End cast recording of Cinderella is streaming on Spotify, Apple Music. I listened to the whole thing, and it was actually, there are multiple songs I really enjoyed. So I'm excited to see what ends up happening with that. If it takes off on Broadway, I don't think it has quite the appeal of some of his other ones, like Phantom of the Opera and spectacle wise, because even though it's a retelling, it's still a story that people know, Cinderella, where Phantom of the Opera kind of became its own thing, even though it was based on some older books or silent movies and things like that. It was its own thing and just kind of a big spectacle and took kind of Broadway by storm. And I will say it's way better than Cats. So know that going into it if you're going to check it out. Um, the first thing that we are going to kind of do a mini review on and recommendation is going to be something that just randomly popped into my head. I have no idea why. It's been happening lately, and you don't want to know the weirdness that goes on in my head. But that was Dr. Horrible's sing along blog. This came out in 2008. Joss, I don't even remember how I originally stumbled upon it. I'm not sure if it was after Avengers came out and Joss Whedon did that and was pretty hot, and with Firefly, that I was looking into things that he did. But this was something that Joss Whedon, he directed and he wrote it along with his brothers Jed Whedon, Zach Whedon, and Marissa Tancheron, who's actually married to Jed, but they all wrote it. It is a web series done as a vlog by Dr. Horrible, played by Neil Patrick Harris, who is an aspiring villain who wants to join the evil League of Evil, which is headed up by Bad Horse, the thoroughbred of sin, who is actually just a horse. But it is fantastic. it's almost impossible to find right now. Well, I say that, but it's you can watch it in full on YouTube for free. But the official versions of it, it's not streaming anywhere. It was on Amazon Prime for a while. It's pulled on there. They released a DVD of it. You can barely find that anywhere. You can get some. When I looked on Amazon, there was like one left for $30. Otherwise, it's like $75 and insane amounts like that. Because it was done during the writer strike of 2007, 2008. Joss Whedon and his brothers and sister-in-law, they wanted to do something that they could create on a small scale, inexpensive, and still kind of have a professional look and feel to it, and have some bigger names to it, some star power to it. And Joss Whedon funded the whole thing himself for just a little over $200,000. And I know Joss Whedon, he's been under some fire lately for apparently he was son of a bitch to work for on the Justice League when he took that over from Zack Snyder when Zack Snyder stepped away due to his family issues. And so I'm by no means championing Joss Whedon as a person, but I thought Firefly was fantastic. The sci-fi western with Nathan Fillion, partially because I'm a huge Nathan Fillion fan too. That spurred from watching Castle, which is a fantastic series, and I think that's streaming on Hulu right now. I could be wrong. It was an ABC series, but Castle is a fantastic mystery. Nathan Fillion plays an author, fiction, crime, mystery author who gets called in and eventually starts helping the police solve crimes. So that's a fantastic series. But the main three characters in Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog, which there's 3 acts of it, they were released a few days apart, like July 15th, 17th, and 20th in 2008. Dr. Horrible is played by Neil Patrick Harris, and he's the main character of it. Then you have Captain Hammer, played by Nathan Fillion, and he does inform you at one point that yes, the hammer is his penis, in case you were wondering. And then Felicia Day plays Penny, the neighbor that Dr. Horrible has a crush on and ends up dating Captain Hammer. So the whole thing is like 42 minutes long in total. Jed Whedon did most of the music. He composed it, and it is fantastic. The songs in this little web series, because it was created just to be a web series. That's what it was done for. It is so catchy. Neil Patrick Harris is fantastic in it. Nathan Fillion is fantastic in it. It's so charismatic and charming. I've been shocked. Nathan Fillion, he's been rumored to be attached to a number of different roles within like Marvel and DC, but nothing's really stuck. He did have like a very small role in James Gunn's Suicide Squad that came out a year or so ago, which I thought was great, by the way. Definitely a superior version of Suicide Squad, but part of that's because Warner Brothers, by all accounts, butchered David Ayer's version of the first one that came out. But Nathan Fillion's worked on a lot of James Gunn's projects like Slither, which is a very interesting film. And so they're close, and Nathan Fillion just has such a good kind of charismatic, almost douchey persona that would be good in a superhero series, or even I'd like to see him in The Boys. The Boys where the superheroes are the bad guys. He would be fantastic. I don't have a specific role in mind, but he'd be fantastic as one of the soups in that series. So let's get Nathan Fillion in some more superhero thing. I know now the only thing I've seen that he's been doing has been that show The Rookie on ABC, which I have not watched at all. But I can say, almost guarantee it, if you enjoy musicals in any sense, in humor, especially comedy musicals, you're going to enjoy the 42 minutes that you spend with Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. It is going to be the best use of 42 minutes you can find, because that's what you get usually one TV episode for. And if you're looking for laughs and some catchy music, you're not going to get more in a full story told. You're not going to get more than in 42 minutes than in this web series. So it's on YouTube, Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. Watch it. Neil Patrick Harris plays the awkward Dr. Horrible crush on the girl neighbor so well, and because that's a typical stereotype. It also has, I'm blanking on the actor's name. He plays Wolowitz in Big Bang Theory, and his villain henchman, he is Moist. He's just wet. That's his name, Moist. And so every time, there's little things in this that are just so clever, so fun. Every time Dr. Horrible gets a letter or phone call from Bad Horse and the Evil League of Evil, these guys dressed as cowboys pop in on the side of the screen and are singing a Bad Horse chorus and just bouncing up and down and singing it. And it is catchy as hell, and it is fantastic. So, Dr. Horrible's sing along blog, nearly perfect. The only thing that I don't like is that it never made a sequel. Joss Whedon had said multiple times there were things going that they were going to make a sequel. In 2011, he was saying they were making going to make a sequel. They were writing it. They had some songs going. Nathan Fillion said at one time he knew the title of what the sequel was going to be, and then Joss Whedon was busy with Avengers stuff, then busy with Justice League stuff, and then working on other projects, and now just basically not doing much that I've heard of due to all the backlash and apparently reports of how he was on set and to talent. And so not sure what's going on with him in his life. In 2019, Neil Patrick Harris said at this point he thought that it was probably dead in the water, that it wasn't going to happen. So don't hold out hope for a sequel. But honestly, I think that might be a good thing. I think now what worked for it at the time was it was done on such a small scale, smaller budget. It has kind of that homemade feel while still the audio design and everything being fantastic and the acting being fantastic, that now you throw a bigger budget at it, you have a larger cast, it's going to take away from the charm of this original. But go watch Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog. That is my pick and recommendation for the week for you. Now, something that I have a little bit more mixed feelings on is Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. I referenced this, I think, in one of the other mini episodes or when I was talking to Rayleigh. It might have made it into one of my vocal warm-up topics. But I was looking for a new kind of musical show to watch because musicals I connect with. I enjoy the songs that express what people are feeling and tell a story. And that's what I mentioned on here. My playlist, I listen to more like musical songs from musicals than anything else. Like those are my top listen to albums. There's maybe a few songs here or there, but usually like musicals are my go-to. They evoke more of an emotional response to me, and I love the storytelling that comes across in songs from musicals. So I was looking for something new, and I saw Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. It looked like a fun, upbeat series. Just heads up, there will be some minor spoilers for it in here, but I'm going to try to keep this mostly spoiler-free. I'm not going to go very detailed or specific with it. But it looked like it was going to be an upbeat, cheery musical series. It was originally on NBC, then switched to Peacock, and it was canceled after 2 seasons. So it premiered in 2020 in January, and the first season was on NBC, got picked up Peacock for the second season in 2021 and then ended. There were talks about season 3 going on, trying to get renewed, but it got canceled. They were trying to shop around at different networks. They did a Christmas special on Roku in that Christmas of 2021, but since then nothing's been picking it up. There's not been any steam moving forward on it. So as of right now, it's canceled. Ended after 2 seasons. And I feel like ultimately how it ended, there's kind of a cliffhanger, but not enough that you're going to be upset if you watch that. I hate when I really get into a series and then it ends because it was canceled, and I feel like I got invested and wasted this time for how it ended. I didn't feel that way with this. I feel like they definitely could have done a 3rd season, but I didn't feel like it wasted what came before. So just heads up for everyone looking to get into watching this if you're interested. Now, this has a few original songs, but only a handful. It is mostly a jukebox musical, like Moulin Rouge. It's covers of other people's music, other bands, other performances. And why I feel like, even though this is a very on IMDb as like 8.1 out of 10 stars. So it was a pretty well reviewed series. And both Jane Levy, who plays Zoe, and Mary Steenburgen, who plays Zoe's mom, they won awards for this. And it's won a number of other awards. But I think part of the reason it probably got canceled, and I don't know, this is all speculation on my part. I didn't dig into the numbers. I know it got not as good viewership numbers, whatever that is, Nielsen rating, something like that, as they wanted. And I think part of that's probably because I don't know who this series is for. I thought it was going to be a very upbeat, musical, fun, happy, lighthearted series. Kind of like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, that Rachel Bloom starred and produced, that was on the CW. It's pretty lighthearted, and it's a musical, and it's all original songs. And that, I can't decide if I love or hate that series. It's almost every episode I swing wildly between the different emotions on that. That's on Netflix if everyone's interested in checking it out. I have not finished that series. It is an interesting one, but it is more upbeat. So there is that. But this show, in the pilot episode, you're basically like, I'm tearing up by the end of the pilot episode, and multiple times in this. It is actually a very heavy drama at a lot of parts. Season 2 deals with racism and race issues. It deals with death. Season 1 deals with sick parents, like dying parents, things like that, and coping, like death of loved ones, and contemplating like suicide and things like that, and just so heavy that it can be tough to enjoy at times and get locked in. Like I say I binged it, but I spread it out. I couldn't watch more than like 1 or 2 episodes at a time in one sitting, because it is just getting such an emotional response. It caused me to almost tear up every episode. The other thing with that, because like I'm fine if you want to go full drama, but one of the things that I mentioned in the movie that Rayleigh and I were most divided on, our Moulin Rouge episode, which I thought was a really fun episode and probably one that those listening enjoyed. Tonally, this show is just all over the place, and that I'm fine with balancing serious moments with comedy. I think that is important. You can't just be too down and dark all the time. And that was one of Rayleigh's points with Moulin Rouge, but one of my criticisms with Moulin Rouge were the extremes that it would go to, and just ping pong back and forth for them. That was what was so jarring and what I had a problem with. This show has that as well, and where it's like I don't know what they're doing. So the premise is Jane Levy's character, or Levy, I think it's Levy, maybe mispronouncing it. Apologies to her if I am. Her character doesn't really like music. She listens to podcasts, things like that. She's in the tech industry. She goes to get an MRI because she's been having some issues. When she's in the MRI, there is an earthquake while the music's playing, and something happens that then she gets almost like a superpower, where she sees people singing to her and performing musical numbers that they end up calling them. She's hearing their heart songs. She's hearing their inner thoughts, what they're going through, and what they're really feeling. And she's dealing with that with the help of her neighbor, Mo, played by Alex Newell, who I was first introduced to as Unique in Glee. And Alex Newell has a fantastic voice and is a fantastic personality, both in Glee and in this series. anytime Alex Newell is singing or Skylar Astin from Pitch Perfect, he is in this as well. Anytime they're singing, those performances are just fantastic. What is then jarring are the singing performances by some people that are not musicians and should not be singing. Lauren Graham, for instance, she is in this and she both seems like she just doesn't want to be there and has zero emotion when she's singing. No knocks on her. She's not a singer as far as I know, and if she is, I apologize, but the directors did not get her best performances out of it, that's for sure. And also Mary Steenburgen, while she is a fantastic actress and she plays this role so well in it as Zoe's mom, Maggie, when she's singing too, there's those things that just take you out of it. So it's not a show for people who are necessarily musical fans and want to hear good songs performed. The drama and the story is great. The songs in this almost become distracting at times and take you out of it. There is one point where a character is in the hospital and Zoe's character is very concerned and worried, and Skylar Astin, he plays, his name's Max in the series. He has a crush on her and he's going with her. And so in this intense drama scene, his heart song that she hears him singing is "I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles" by the Proclaimers. Um, and so and I would walk 500 miles, which just makes me think of How I Met Your Mother when Ted and Marshall are listening to that. Great episode. Because it always comes back around. But is so jarring and doesn't fit the emotion and the moment of what is happening. And I get that they're supposed to be like their heart songs, but so many times it feels like they're like, what song has lyrics that fit something that's said or they were feeling, not that matches the tone of the situation. There's other times where the song does match perfectly. One is in season 2. There's seeing Skylar Astin sings "Say Something," and just his version and cover of it is just so fucking heartbreaking. Um, and it is so good. But then there's times like that, "I'm Gonna Be 500 Miles." That's almost like they're like, oh, we need to throw some more lighthearted songs to kind of lighten the mood in this moment. But that's not what the series is to me. To me, these are all my opinions. People might have different ones, and good for you if you do. Um, but I don't know. I had a problem with it. I struggled at times with that. I still really enjoyed the show. I probably enjoyed some of the songs in season 2 better, but I felt like the story with some other new characters they threw in kind of detracted from the main characters, the connection with. And I don't know. Like I said, anytime Alex Newell and Skylar Astin are singing is fantastic. Jane Levy actually has a fairly good voice as well, but her character, you also go back on forth on, she's kind of the worst in it. You're like, this is the person we're supposed to be rooting for. Some of these things she's doing, the way she's acting, makes her the worst, especially where she can hear everyone's inner thoughts pretty much in songs. Um, I don't know. It was a very interesting show that I had very complicated feelings and emotions on it while I was watching it. Um, so do with that as you will. It's an interesting series if you're looking for a musical one. I would recommend, even though the musical style isn't what I normally enjoy, uh, I really enjoyed the series Schmigadoon. Rayleigh and I have mentioned that a couple times. That's on Apple TV Plus. Season 2 is coming out soon. It's set in Schmicago, which is a more modern, like cabaret style musical season. It's a different town universe. So it's a very entertaining show. It's got Keegan Michael Key and Cicely Strong, I believe, and Aaron Tveit in it. And it also has the lady, I'm blanking on her name, that plays Glinda in the original Wicked. And so I'm just going to Google it. So, da-da-da-dun-da-da. You don't need Googling sound effects because I don't actually have more besides that. I don't know why Schmigadoon didn't pull up instantly on IMDb. There's not many things that start with SCH. April 5th is when season 2 premieres, and the person that I was looking for was Kristen Chenoweth. That's right. It also has Dove Cameron, Alan Cumming, Ariana DeBose from West Side Story and Hamilton. And so it has a really great cast, and it's a very entertaining show. It's funny. It has lower rating than Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist, which for some reason I keep wanting to call Zoey's Infinite Playlist. I think because isn't there a movie, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist? I don't know, but it is Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist. One other complaint I have about Zoey's Extraordinary Playlist, they released the songs from it per episode on Apple Music instead of just the full season compilation. That doesn't exist. You have to go through and look at each episode. It's dumb. But it's interesting. There's 13 episodes a season, so there's 26 episodes out there. It's on Peacock, so if you have Peacock, check it out. My favorite musical TV series I've seen, that's a couple seasons, is Smash with Catherine McPhee and Jeremy Jordan and some other people. I love that series. I love the music in it. It is about a Marilyn Monroe musical that is being created. And then in the second season, Jeremy Jordan comes in and he's the writer of a new musical called Hit List that they work on. So the music from that musical Hit List is the one, every song in that is so damn good. And Pasek Paul, who did Dear Evan Hansen and they did The Greatest Showman, they wrote a number of the songs from the Hit List musical in Smash. So, and that I don't think is streaming anywhere currently. That I bought on Vudu so I could have it. It was on Amazon for a while and then it got pulled off there. So those are some musical shows recommendations if you're looking to check things out. Stay tuned. Our next week's episode, Rayleigh and I are doing Vivo, the animated it's Netflix original movie with Lin-Manuel Miranda. Then after that, since we get 5 episodes in March, since the first was on a Wednesday, so lucky you, you will be getting another mini episode. I'm not sure what I'll cover yet. We might see if we can get another Travel Tales out of Rayleigh for that one. And then April, we'll go into our schedule there. Mini episode week 1, week 2, Rayleigh and I. We'll see. We might do another draft or something again. We had fun doing that musical playlist one. So let us know in the comments if you enjoyed it as well. On that video, go to that video. Watch it if you haven't already. Let us know what you think. I still haven't had anyone DM me their list of their 10 musical playlist songs so that I can give someone a whole $5. So no one wants my money, I guess, but it works for me. So go on there, check out our other episodes. Like I said, check out the Last of Us content. I may start doing, because I'm just trying to pump out content, give people more variety, things to look at. So I'm excited. Yellow Jackets season 2 premieres on Showtime on the 24th, I believe. And so I might start doing reviews of those like I did The Last of Us and just some initial quick hitter thoughts on that because I loved season 1. And for an original series, it was fantastic. So can't wait for that coming out soon. Just some updates because I've done some of these on streaming recommendations where I was watching. Season 2 of Your Honor has picked up. Still not as good as season 1 for me, but it has gotten better. And we have the finale of that next Friday. Bad Batch has been going on Disney Plus. If you're an anime Star Wars fan, this season has been dragging for me. It's been getting better the last few ones, but it's hit or miss. That's not a must watch. Mandalorian season 3, the first 2 episodes so far have been fantastic. So that gets my must watch slap on it. If you enjoy Star Wars and sci-fi. So even if you're not the biggest Star Wars fan, just as a sci-fi series on its own, The Mandalorian is fantastic. And it definitely does. You'll definitely appreciate it more if you're a Star Wars fan and have watched other Star Wars things, but it also kind of stands on its own. Like it's a new original character for the series, so it stands on its own as well. It does tie into things from Clone Wars series, Rebel series, and the earlier trilogy, the original trilogy. But it is fantastic. So highly recommend that. And make sure you're watching this. We got lots of stuff coming out now. We have now officially put out more content this year than we did all of last year. So up to you to decide if the quality's gone down, but we're having fun with it. Maybe at some point our lives will get a little less busy and we'll be able to do more content together, give you more of that. I know that a lot of times it's more fun to listen to a podcast when you've got some banter, some people going back and forth, than just hearing me on here. So if you listened, I appreciate you all sticking around. Make sure that you go like, subscribe on all of our stuff. We're on Facebook now, Twitter, Instagram's the place I post the most. That's where we'll do updates on our story. And then YouTube, make sure you have notifications turned on. Every new episode on the main feed drops on Wednesday, 6 a.m. Central Time. But Last of Us reviews drop random times. If I do that for Yellow Jackets, those will probably drop at random times. So make sure you're subscribed and have notifications turned on. Go like, share, comment the videos. Help us get the name out. I'd like to, by the end of the year, my goal is to hit 100 subscribers. It may not seem like much, but it is, and it is to me. So that's my goal. That's what I want to see by clock strikes midnight on December 31st, 2023. I want our YouTube page to have 100 subscribers. So let's get there. Oh, and TikTok. Been doing quick reviews on there of Last of Us and other things. So subscribe to our TikTok too. I hate TikTok, but I do it for you. So hope you enjoy. Go tune in. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Tell me if there's things that you want me to review on these mini episodes that may not be musical related. Most musical movies, I want Rayleigh and I both to kind of contribute, go back and forth. But if there's things you want to see or different suggestions you have for these mini episodes, hit me up with questions, topics, and I'll take a stab at them. So have a great week, everyone. And don't forget to go down once more. Later.